So everybody's waiting for Trump to announce a war on Iran, waiting anxiously what's going to happen. He was supposed to do it last week, then he gave him 10 days, now he's getting ready. We're going to have a war with Iran. Now the question is this war with Iran anything to do with Milchemes Gog uMagog or anything like that? Because what is Milchemes Gog uMagog? What is this war with Iran? So there.
Gog uMagog is the AI. It's called internet. That's a real one.
So.
I think you're right.
And now we're getting close to Purim, and Purim also happened in Poras, right? It happened in Iran. That's where the whole episode of Purim happened. Now, first of all, I want to make a disclaimer. The Iranians today is not necessarily the same Poras that was. Poras, the empire of Poras, the Persian Empire, is gone. Who the Iranians are, I don't know the exact history, exactly who they are. They are very insulted if you call them Arabs, so they're obviously not Arabs, but they are Muslims. So make a disclaimer, I don't know.
Could be the Jews?
The Persians? What? Ayatollahs, they're Muslims.
Is there something with the fact that it is in the territory there?
It's the territory. It's sort of, things are happening right now, and the fact that things are happening right now it's just so uncanny, and it fits the Medrashim. But there's a famous Yalkut Shimoni and a Pesikta that it fits the scenario right now, but it also fit during the Scud War. Let me read to you the famous Pesikta. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Shana Shemelech Mashiach Nigla Boy, the year that the Melech Mashiach is going to come, be Megala himself. Kol Machaya Umos Oilim Izgarim Bez Zebezeb. All the nations of the world are fighting each other and rattling their swords against each other, which this is what we see. We also saw it during the Scud War. Melech Poras Miskar b'Melech Arabia. This is why during the Scud War, everybody pulled out this medrash. Melech Arabia had Saudi Arabia against Iran, and they were going at it. They're ready to destroy each other. B'Holech Melech Arabia leEdom. So Melech Arabia, the Arabs, go to Edom, go to Europeans to take advice from them and then get some backup. This is what everybody is scared of. That it says that the war that's going to be, the Arabs, Melech Arabia, and is going to join Edom. Now Edom, we have a tradition, Edom is Europe. Now, where's America fit in with this? Because America is an offshoot of Europe. It's European. It's Western, Western civilization, right? Yeah, so it's the Melech Poras is going to be Machav Kol Oilam Kulo, V'Kol Umois Oilam Misrashim Misbalim V'Noifel Al Paneim. Everybody is in a turmoil. They don't know what to do. V'Yochsav and Sirim Yitziri Lioledis, and they're petrified that this monster of Poras now is conquering the world. The Yisrael Misrashim, and in Israel they're all going to be Misrashim, and they're going to be petrified. Umisbalim, where are we going to go now? If our good friends, the Westerners, have fallen, now we got Poras is coming against us. V'Omer Bonai, Kodesh Baruch Hu tells Klal Yisrael, Bonai, Al Tisro'u, don't be afraid. Kol ma she'asisi lo asisi ela b'shvilchem. I've only done it for you. Mipnei ma atem Misrayim. What are you afraid? Hegia zman gulaschem. This is a siman that the time of the Gula has come. It's time for the Gula, not like the Gula Rishona, not like the Gula of Mitzrayim, Yitzias Mitzrayim. The Gula Achron is going to be different. Gula Yushoina, there was Sar and Shibud Malchius afterwards. After the Yitzias Mitzrayim, then we went into another Golus, Golus Bavel and Golus Edom. Aval the Gula Achroina, Ein Lahem Tsar V'Shibud Malchuyos Achreim is going to be the final Gula. Again, I disclaimer on this medrash, because they used the same medrash during the Scud War, because it was against Saudi Arabia against Iran. And it didn't happen. So you have to be very, very careful with these things. But it does say over here, and this is what people are curious about. I'll use the word curious. That it says over here that the Porus is going to wage war against Edom, and also it says against Arabia also. What that means? And it says Porus is going to win. It says Porus is going to win. So where does that put us with now this potential world war against Iran? We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. But it's not so simple. The whole thing is not so simple. That's a Yalkut Shimoni. That's a Pesikta. That's a Yalkut Shimoni based on a Pesikta. Now there is a Gemara. There's a Gemara in Yuma, which talks about the final. And that's very interesting. That the final battle is going to be between Poras and Edom. That seems that the Chazal had a tradition that the final battle is going to be between Poras and Edom. That's going to be the world war, the final world war, whether that's going to be Gog and Magog, whether Gog and Magog is this or Gog and Magog is something else. It's not clear what Gog and Magog is, whether it's after the Mashiach comes, it's before the Mashiach comes. I'm not going to commit myself to what that is, but it does say in the Gemara in Yuma on Daf Yud, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Now these are big guns over here. Yeshua ben Levi is one of the beginning of the Amoraim. He's one of the first Amoraim. Yeshua ben Levi. Amar Rebbe. He's quoting Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Asida Roimi shetipo biad paras. So that sounds like the Pesikta that I just quoted. That Rome, which is Western civilization, Europe, is going to fall to Poras. Poras, in our terms, seems to be Iran. I will also make a comment on that. This is not clear exactly who Poras is. Again, like I said, Poras today, Iran today is not necessarily Poras. The Maral is Mesupik. He says, where's Yishmael in all this? It said in the Psik says the Arabiya, the Arabs, but where's the Arabs are not necessarily Yishmael. Where's Yishmael in all this? So he says Yishmael, that Poras is the Golus of Yishmael. It is. They represent Yishmael. That's the way the Maral learns Pshat. Not everybody agrees with him, so we have to. Nothing is clear. But one thing it says over here that's clear is that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, "Asida Romi shetipo biad Poras." That Rome, Western civilization, will fall to Poras. Sounds so that's frightening. That's frightening. Okay, so let me continue in the Gemara. That was Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yochanan, a little bit later in the Amoraim, one generation later, Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi. He's quoting Yehuda bar Eloi is a Tana. Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi is a Tana. Asida Roy Mishitipo biad Poras. He also agrees with it. So Rabbi Yochanan agrees with Yeshua ben Levi, and then he brings the Kitzur. Then the Gemara continues and says, Omar Rav. Now Rav is a later generation. Now we're going over to Bavel. Rabbi Yochanan, Yeshua ben Levi, and Rabbi Yochanan, where they were in Eretz Yisrael. Now let's go over to Bavel. Now he said, Asida Poras Tipo biad Romi. Poras is going to fall to the Europeans, the other way. So he turned. So some people want to say it depends where you lived. If those who lived in Eretz Yisrael, they were fed up with the Roman oppression, so they wanted Poras to wipe out the Romans. So they said that eventually the Romans, meaning the Romans were terribly oppressive of the Jewish population after the Korban, but don't worry because they're going to fall to Poras. So those who lived in Eretz Yisrael said that way, and Rav lived in Bavel. He said the other way because they lived underneath the Babylonians, which were closer to Porus. And he says, but they hated the Persian government. They were the oppression of the Porus. They said Porus is going to fall to Rome. So everybody said the other thing. But the problem. Huh? It sounds like they're reading into it. It sounds like they're reading into it. It could be. The way I read it is that they're both true. For a certain time period, that Porus is going to win, and then it's going to turn. Tides are going to turn, and it's going to go the other way because they both have a cheshbon in Shemayim, while Kodesh Baruch Hu wants to pay them back. They both did it. Rome did a terrible avla. They destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. Porus allowed the Beis Hamikdash to be rebuilt, but they had plenty of avlas on their half. Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to get back at them also. So it's going to go back and forth. And the problem is what I said is not going to be accurate because we have a Tanya Nami Hachi, and now this is a Brisa. Brisas are all in Eretz Yisrael, and it supports Rav Porus Tipo Biad Romi. So some say that Porus is going to win over Rome, and others say that Rome is going to win over Porus. What's going to happen? Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Ein ben David bo asher tifshot malchus Romi harisha b'kol ha'olam. It says that Romi harisha, that's the Europeans, right, is going to spread out all over the world for 9 months.
The Maisa, think about it, the Europeans actually today is a lot of Arabs in Europe, so Europe might be also small somewhere. Europe is flooded with
a lot of people say Europe has fallen already to the Arabs. They are taking over all the countries. They're taking over the countries. But that's not our shmooze over here, right? Now it says it's going to be Tisha Chadoshim. Now what is this Tisha Chadoshim? That they're going to conquer the world for 9 months, right? And afterwards, the Mashiach is going to come after 9 months. What is this 9 months? And this is also a Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Tzadi Ches. Omer Rav ein bedavid bo ad tispashet malchus harisha al Yisrael tisha chadoshim. The Klal Yisrael is going to be under the terrible oppression for 9 months, and then Mashiach is going to come. What is this 9 months? So there's a Rabbi Chanan Wasserman.
Sir, you don't say that Rabbi Mashiach is going to come, he's going to neglect, he's going to reveal himself. Is that am I reading it?
You don't read into what I say.
Okay.
A lot of people, listen. Moshe Rabbeinu was alive, and then he revealed himself when he was 80 years old. So he was around, and then Kodesh Baruch Hu told him go to Mitzrayim, and he was 80 when he came. Now, how old the Mashiach is right now, and how old is he when he reveals himself? I'm not privy to these secrets, but it doesn't mean that he's not here yet.
Moshe Rabbeinu is still alive. We say Tachat today, so he's still alive.
So there's a kisvei, he brings from kisvei agro, this is Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, in his Kovis Maimorim, that the Zman of the Golus is, in kisvei HaKodesh, is considered like the pregnancy of a woman. The time of the Golus, we are now in Golus. Since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, we're in Golus. And it's like a pregnancy. Kodesh Baruch Hu is preparing the scene for Klal Yisrael now to be born again. There's going to be a rebirth of Klal Yisrael. You may ikvesed a Mashiach is chevlei leida. So all the turmoil that we're going through, just like a woman when she goes through chevlei leida, all of a sudden she gets the pains of birth, and the tzirim. So it's very, very painful, and then they start coming faster and faster and faster. Right? And then this baby is about to be born. the faster the pains, the tziri leda come, right, and stronger they get, so you know you're getting closer to the actual birth of the child. That's the way the Gra says. The same thing with the Chevli Mashiach. There's going to come coming time. We're getting in. We see now things are moving so fast, and everything is coming together, and it's getting hotter, and it's getting more and more and more with all the problems, and so we know that something's about to happen. It seems. I'm not going to say I'm a Navi. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but all the simonim, all the signs are here that something is about to happen. Big stuff is happening right now. We're in the middle of a historical event. We don't know. I don't know what it is, but something historical is about to happen. And this brings us to Purim. So now we're about next week, but we're going to be celebrating Purim, and this was going to give us a little insight into what's happening. It says, this is very, very interesting. Purim is a holiday. It's a Yom Tov which was instituted by the Rabbanim, by Anshe Knesset Gedolah, in the Book of Esther. In the Book of Esther, the Anshe Knesset Gedolah, they instituted the holiday of Purim. Purim is not D'Oraisa. It's not a D'Oraisa Dika holiday. It happened. It's instituted by the Rabbanim afterwards. It says when the Mashiach is going to come, all the Yom Tov are going to be bottled. It's going to be a totally new scene. You won't say celebrate Pesach, the going out of Yetzias Mitzrayim, all the miracles that happened coming out of Yetzias Mitzrayim, because the miracles that we're going to experience at the time of the Gula are going to outshadow anything that happened in Mitzrayim. How that means was going to be Star Wars or whatever. We can only imagine. We've been inundated with all these science fiction movies. I can't answer. Maybe that's another reason why Kodesh Baruch Hu was megala to us all this science fiction movies and AI and miraculous. We can live miracles, like if you put on your goggles and you watch the virtual goggle machine. So, but it says everything's going to happen. They're all going to be bottled. All the Yom Tov are going to be bottled. Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, all the Yom Tov are going to be bottled, except for Purim. Purim is going to continue. Kol hamoedim asidin libat b'teilim, b'mei Purim ein b'teilim l'olam. Purim will never be bottled. And it says in the Pasuk, Mefurish in the Megillah, Yimei Purim ha'elu yavru mitoich Yehudim. We'll always remember Purim. Always remember Purim. We'll always remember Purim. Everything else is going to be bottled, and Purim will always remember? How could that be? So we have to understand what is Purim. What is Purim that it won't? What is the message of Purim that it will never? That we have to remember forever and ever and ever. What is this message? And it's something. It's a message that's even more important than the message of Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. There's a Gemara. There's a parak in Tillim. In Tillim Chaf Beis is the Tillim Lamasech Al Yelis Shachar. Keli Lama Azabtani. And the Chazal tell us that this parak of Tehillim was composed by Esther Amalka, when she was about to go into Achashverosh, right? To beg for her people. So it says, Lama Nimshala. So the Gemara asks in Yuma, Lama Nimshal Esel Ayelis Shachar. Why is that Ayelis Shachar? Why does the beginning of this measure say Ayelis Shachar? What is Ayelis Shachar? It's the morning star. What's the morning star? It's the Soif Kol Laila. At the end of this Venus, usually it's Venus. What exactly this morning star is it's not so clear in Chazal what this morning star is. Let's say it's Venus. Sometimes you see Venus early in the, because Venus is very close to the sunrise, so right before sunrise, so this morning star comes up. So just that when you see this morning star, you know that this is the Soif Kol Halayla. So also Esther is the end of all the Nisim. That's the Gemara. Just like this morning star, Yelas HaShachar, is the end of the night, so to Esther is the end of all the Nisim. So the Yaris Dvash, Yonasan Eibeshitz, and he's quoted by many Gedolim. This is not just a wild statement that he's about to discuss. It's quoted by the Chidor, and I saw that Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach also quotes this. He has to say, it doesn't make any sense. If it's the end of all the Nisim, so it should be the as dusk goes into night. When we had Nisim, we saw Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu did Nisim. Everything was bright. Kodesh Baruch Hu redeemed us, and that's the time of day. And now, when you go into night, you go into Golus, right? Esther was going into Golus, and then you don't see the Nisim anymore. So that should be like dusk. So V'higia Laila. So it's like Pona Yom V'higia Laila. Right? And now you're going to Lila. Not Lila is this going away and now it's becoming day. So why is that Yelas HaShachar? Why is it Shachar? It should be night. It should be the twilight before the night. That's what it should be. The Zohar says, in every generation there are Nisim. There's always Nisim. Whenever you live, there are Nisim. Except they're Nisim, they're built-in Nigolim B'Noidim. You don't realize them. They're Nisim Nistorim. We have Nisim Niglim, like happened in Mitzrayim, and Kriyas Yamsuf, and all the other Nisim that happened in Yeshua stopped the sun. There's plenty of Nisim in our history. And then there are Nisim every day. Al Nisechesh B'chol Yom Yimono, we say in Moedim. Al Nisechesh B'chol Yom Yimono. Every day there's Nisim. But we don't see that. The Nisim Nistorim. Not Lasais Nifloyis Gedolos Arin Chekel Levadoy HaKadosh Baruch Hu recognizes them. We make a mistake about the Chas V'Sholom. The people came out of Mitzrayim. They're called the Doradeya. They saw Nisim. They were in a tremendous madrega. Yonasan Eibeshitz says, but we see from here that there was a chesaron. We see from history there was a problem with the whole generation. The generation from the time when they went out Mitzrayim, the whole Bayis Rishon had problems. They kept on reverting back to Avodah Zorah. Why did they keep on reverting back to Avodah Zorah? They didn't celebrate Pesach every year. Of course they celebrated Pesach every year. How can they have been schlepped into the lunacy of Avodah Zorah? So Yonasan Eibeshitz says like this. Their understanding of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu works with the world is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is up there, and He handed over. This is the way the Goyim think today, even those who are believers. Even those who are believers, they don't believe in Hashgacha Pratis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is up there. Maybe He's looking down at us. Maybe He's not looking down at us. But the whole world works with natural cause and effect, right?
He runs the world with AI.
The whole world works with natural cause and effect. Everybody's got AI on their brain. I don't know. It's just like a new machla called AI. You're gonna plug it in. You get you become artificial intelligence. Don't become artificial intelligence. Don't become artificial intelligence.
Very good.
So what do people think? What's the normal understanding of how the Kodesh Baruch Hu works? He's up there. He's looking down at us. Once in a while, if I need help, can you hear me? Right? And he comes down and does a miracle, and then he goes back upstairs again. Right? Constantly, the Klal Yisrael, during the Midbar, this is the people who have witnessed 10 Makkos, the splitting of the sea, they said people at the time of splitting of the sea, they saw the Kodesh Baruch Hu controls all of nature, turned it topsy-turvy. There was no nature. There was no water. There was no dry land. Everything, everything was in the Kodesh Baruch Hu's control. They stood at Har Sinai. They passed out when the Kodesh Baruch Hu spoke to them. They heard the first two dibros, right? They had the mun every day, the bear Miriam. They had water, miraculous food, miraculous water. And then they kept on saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, Hayesh Hashem Bekir Beinu. They kept on complaining, Hayesh Hashem Bekir Beinu. Is Hashem here? HaKadosh Baruch Hu build the Mishkan. V'ani shachanti b'soichem. I'm going to be here. I'm here. Look in the Mishkan. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu talked to Moshe Rabbeinu from on top of the Kapyrus. And yet they kept on saying, Hayesh Hashem Bekir Beinu, all the way up to the whole 40 years. They're constantly saying it. They got into Eretz Yisrael, and they forgot about, because Hashem's up there, and we're down here, and we have to work in a natural world. That's the way they thought. That was the philosophy. If it wasn't Yonash and Ibishis, I would be afraid to say such a thing. I mean, you could be thrown out of yeshiva for such a statement. But you understand Ibishis. And he says, this was the philosophy of the people, Klal Yisrael, all up through Bayis Rishon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care so much about the details, right? Or maybe he doesn't know about everything. Once in a while he comes down if you pray and daven, and he'll come down and do a little miracle, but in general, he's not interested. And that's why they got involved in Avodah Zorah, because what's Avodah Zorah? If I need the sun to shine, so I daven to the sun god. Now, sun god, there are powers. There are constellational powers. And this is what the Kadmonim, the original, that's what, there are powers, in heavenly powers, it controls the sun, controls the clouds, controls the weather, right? And if the prosperity, and I need my crops to grow, because everything was an agricultural society, and so that's why they daven to Avodah Zorah, because the Avodah Zorah were these powers, because Baruch Hu, he's too high. He's too high. He handed it over to we call it science. There are scientific powers. There's the powers of wind and the powers of solar power. No, they understood even deeper. There are constellational heavenly powers, which is true. There are spiritual powers that control the sun, the wind, the crops. So let's pray to them, and we'll try to control them, and we'll get them to do our bidding. So I have a good crop this year. So I have good fortune this year in Parnassa. And that's why they went over, they kept on falling into I call it lunacy. It is a lunacy, but I mean, there's a Gemara with Menashe and Abaye. Abaye said, how can Menashe make such a mistake? Menashe says, I'm a bigger Talmid Chacham than you are. So he says, why'd you make this? If you would have been in our generation, you would have run after it also. It was a tremendous Yetzer Hara. Tremendous Yetzer Hara to go after Avodah Zorah. But they went after Avodah Zorah and they didn't have the proper hashkafas. All of a sudden comes Purim. What happened during Purim? If you take a look at Purim, they were petrified out of their minds. There was a terrible gezerah against them. There's a halacha when you read the Megillah, the Megillah's on a scroll. Sefer Torah's on a scroll. How do you read a Sefer Torah? You open up the scroll, but you don't open up the scroll, you just open up to where you're reading. If you have a Haftarah is also on a scroll, you open it up. You don't open up the whole Haftarah, the whole cloth. Open up to where you're reading, just leave that section open and you read it, and then you close it again. There's a halacha by Megillah. What do? All the Megillahs are on only one scroll. It's one side, not like a Sefer Torah, which is two sides. And you open it up all the way. You got to fold it. The whole thing should be in front of you on the bima when they read it. What's this halacha? What's this halacha? The whole thing. You have to read it like an Igeris. There's a machlokes in the Gemara. From where do you start the Megillah? When's the beginning of the Nes? Which Nes do we start reading the Megillah from? We paskin from the beginning. You have to read from the beginning all the way to the end and the whole thing, and you're not allowed to miss a word. Why? Because if you read one chapter at a time, like Sefer Torah is, Parsha, Navi is Parsha. If you read one Parsha at a time, one section at a time, so it's a bunch of disconnected, accidental incidents. There was this guy, Achashverosh, he got control, and then when he felt safe about his melucha, he made a party, and his wife, he had a fight with his wife, Vashti, and she didn't do his bidding, so he said off with her head, right? And then he went into depression because he didn't have a wife. She was the most beautiful in the world, woman in the world, and now he lost his wife, and so they told him to make a beauty pageant. So he made a beauty pageant, and he got right. He brought in everybody to see who's going to be the next queen, and then there was this fellow Mordechai, and he had his niece his orphan that he had taken under his wings because she was an orphan, and she was taken against her will, and she became right, and then the king took her as a queen. Makes sense. Right, and then her uncle or cousin, I'm not clear for exactly how he's related to her. It says that he married her, and the Gemara says that it was his wife, but he was sitting because he was a relative of hers. So he passed by the gates of the city, and he overheard Bigson and Seresh plotting to poison the king, and he happened to know their language. Nobody else knew their language, and he was part of the Sanhedrin, so he knew the language. And he told Esther, and Esther told Haman, told Achashverosh b'shem Mordechai. Okay, sounds interesting. And then Haman, the big, he was the one who told the king to, kill Vashti. So he all of a sudden became a big shot, and he got palsy-walsy with Achashverosh, and they had a drinking party, and he said, right, and then he said, let's get rid of the Jews. Achashverosh can hand it in the ring, do what you want. Kitsu, the whole story with Haman and Mordechai Mordechai started up with Haman, and he wouldn't bow down, and Haman wanted to destroy the Jews, and then he told Esther to go into Achashverosh, and she invited Haman to the party, and then Achashverosh started getting suspicious. Why is my queen inviting Haman to the party? And then she said, one more time, and then she says, you come to the party that I'm making for Haman. Oh, Haman's more important than I am. So he started getting suspicious. We know the story. I don't have to go through the whole story. It sounds like disconnected incidents. That's not what life is. The story of the Megillah is a very important story. You have to read it from the beginning until the end, and every detail was pre-planned by HaKadosh Baruch Hu and is bringing to the final finale of the Nes of Purim. Klal Yisrael had a gezerah on them. And so they had a gezerah on them. They had bowed down. The Gemara says they had bowed down to the idol that Nebuchadnezzar had made, because he said on the threat of death if you don't bow down to this idol. So they all had to bow down to the idol. Because Baruch was very upset about that. Why this after Bayis Rishon was destroyed? Now you're still Nachamo. You're falling into avodah zarah, bowing down to idols. And then later on, they went to the Suda of Achashverosh. And the Sudas Achashverosh was a party that the temple is destroyed, it's not going to be rebuilt, and he brought out the kelim of the Beis Hamikdash, and they were using them as utensils, party utensils. The kelim from the Beis Hamikdash, they're using as party utensils. It was disgrace to Klal Yisrael. But they were afraid. It didn't bother them enough to stay back. Mordechai told them, don't go. You're being mavaza. The Beis Hamikdash, all the holy vessels. You think no, we have to because of politics. We're afraid of politics. We have to ingratiate ourselves with Achashverosh. Ingratiate yourself with the Rebbeinu Shalom, and he'll take care of you. What are you ingratiating yourself with Achashverosh? No. They thought he was insane. All the Yidden thought that Mordechai was insane, and Mordechai knew. It says Mordechai knew because Eliyahu Navi came to him. And he told him that in Shemayim there was a Gezer on Klal Yisrael because they went to the party. Don't say that the party was treif. Because the Gemara says that Kodesh Baruch Hu made, that Achashverosh made Mordechai the chief mashkiach on the Jewish food. It was kosher v'yosher, more kosher than anything we have today. He was forced to do it. That none of the Yidden were nichshel in Tarfus. You wanted Hasidic Shechita, he had Hasidic Shechita. You wanted Sephardi Shechita, they had Sephardi Shechita. Right? They had everything, whatever you want. Right? They even had Brisker Shechita. Remember, they had everything, whatever you want. And Mordechai was in charge to make sure everything was kosher v'yosher as far as kashrus. And he told everybody, Afal Pikein, don't go. But they went. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu was very upset with them. Why are you going and celebrating the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash? That would be Hashem Yirachem. Hashem Yirachem. Therefore, there was a gezerah on them, and they were chayiv, total annihilation. Eliyahu Navi came to Mordechai, and he told him there's a gezerah on them in Shemayim. So according to the Medrash says, so Eliyahu Navi first went to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he said, "Daven, you always daven for Klal Yisrael. There's a gezerah." And Moshe Rabbeinu asked Eliyahu Navi, "Is this gezerah sealed with clay?" They used to have a signet, and they had a little bit of clay, and they put it on the document, and they went like that, and that's how they sealed things, with clay. Right? Is it sealed with clay or is it sealed with blood? So Eliyahu Navi asked Moshe Rabbeinu, what's the difference? If it's sealed with clay, if it's sealed with blood, it's done. Because by Kodesh Baruch Hu, there's no past, there's no future. Everything's the same. Hova, he sees he lives in the future, he lives in the past. If it's sealed with blood, that means the blood is spilled already. So that means it's over. There's no way out. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so angry with them, there's no way out. But if it's sealed with clay, you can break clay. Now it doesn't mean that if it's sealed with clay that it's just a collector. It means you can break it. So Eliyahu Navi says, Moshe Rabbeinu, you know something I don't know. Malachim, I'm a malach, I don't know, understand, but you're Moshe Rabbeinu. So he says, no. So he says, sealed with clay. Go tell Mordechai to start davening, to start doing things. Eliyahu Navi went to tell Mordechai, and Mordechai knew Masha Korah. He knew everything that was happening. So the whole Megillah was to get. Why did the Kodesh Baruch Hu seal it with clay? And why did he make sure that Mordechai found out about it? Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted Mordechai to arouse the people. He was the Gadol Hador, arouse the people to do tshuva, arouse the people to daven, and they'll break the gezerah because it's sealed with clay and it was able to be broken. And because they davened, 3 days they fasted. 3 days they fasted. And then Esther was able to be poyel to get Haman, to get Achashverosh to kill Haman. And it was over. The whole gezerah was over. You wouldn't know this unless you read the whole story from the beginning to end. Really, we should read the whole Megillah b'Neshima Achas, right? Just like we do the Aseret B'nai Haman, we should read it b'Neshima Achas. The whole Megillah should be read b'Neshima Achas because it's one long story which is showing us what? We thought that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is up there, and He doesn't take an interest in us, and everything down here is working according to nature. No, there is no nature. It's all a plan. It's all planned out by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all planned out by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we have to recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that He's here, and if you daven to Him, and you daven, and you do tshuva, and you subjugate yourself to Him, He's going to make everything turn out okay. And you to get that message that He is here now. And so according to Yonis and Abish says, B'mei Mordechai B'Yester, they were Maimon Dedas on the proper hashkafa. They saw the nes and the whole hishtalshalish, the whole sequence of events, from Vashti, Haman's hanging. They were toikeya, they ingrained in themselves the amuna shleima muchletis b'kerev levavos, and they believe the tachlis amuna. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashkiach b'pratis. There's something called the shkacha pratis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not just up there and left everything down here to current events. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the current events. That's everything is hashkacha pratis. This was a major battle, and therefore that's why we have to. That's the lesson that we have from the Megillah. Rabbi Chanan, again Rabbi Chanan. He says, everything that happens down here, he was talking about Hitler was coming, was taking power. They were petrified. The Jews in Europe were petrified. Hitler is taking power. He says, he quoted a Gra. The Gra says that everything that happens down here, this is not where it's happening. And this is what we have to know. And this is what Mordechai recognized. This is what Eliyahu Navi told Mordechai. Everything that happens down here is not down here. Things that happen down here, Haman handing over the ring, it's not Haman. It's not Hitler. It's happening upstairs. What's happening down here is a dogma. It's just a image of what's happening upstairs. He is medamit to a showcase window. You have a fruit and vegetable store, so they put plastic fruit in the window. Delicious apples, delicious pears, peaches. I mean, they look so juicy. The bananas, right? And it's all plastic. It's just an image to be mamchish, to show you what's going on inside. We have great fruit, right? That's the showcase window. It's fake. A florist shop. They'll have a florist shop. They'll have fake flowers, plastic flowers. Come in and you'll see beautiful flowers, real flowers. But outside in the window, they don't want to change it, all the time. They wilt, so they're constantly putting. They just put one time plastic flowers. It's the same thing. What happens down here is all fake. What's happening really is happening upstairs, and we have to influence what's happening upstairs in order to get the results that we want. I started out by saying that we live in very, very interesting times. That right now we see that the things are getting faster and faster. It's like the Siri Leda. That's what it's like. Siri Leda. It's like the Gul is going to be like a Leda. It's going to be a new birth, a rebirth of Klal Yisrael into a new situation. And the closer you get to the birth, the harder the Tziri Leda get harder and harder and closer. We see so many things coming together. Rabbi Chanan quotes the Chafetz Chaim, and he says that we see in our history in Golis 2 different types of enemies. We had a holiday of Hanukkah, and we had the holiday of Purim. What was the difference between the holiday of Hanukkah and the holiday of Purim? The holiday of Hanukkah was Shmad. Shmad means it was against the religion. It was against the religion. The Greeks didn't want to destroy us. They would be very, very happy if we would become Greek, if we go over to the Greek culture. They wanted us to become modern people, right? Like today, they want us to become modern people, join the Western culture. So it was against the religion, right? So it was a spiritual war. That was the time of the Hanukkah. What was the way to battle them? So the way they had to battle them with Mesiras Nefesh. They had to actually wage war. But Purim was not like that. Haman did not care if they would convert to whatever his religion was. His religion, but as a matter of fact, his religion was atheism. He was an Amaleki. Amaleki don't believe in anything. They're like the world today. They believe in modern science and no God. That is a ruach, a reach, a ruach. It is the spirit of Amalek. Everything's just a mikra. Mordechai told Esther, Kol asher karahu. He says the master of mikra is coming against us. That was Haman. He wanted to destroy us, and he hated Klal Yisrael. And he didn't want Klal Yisrael to convert. He wanted to destroy us. Lock, stock, about total annihilation. Mamish like Hitler. Now he had the difference between him and Hitler. Hitler only had Germany. He only had Europe. And then that's why he went after Czechoslovakia and Lithuania, and then he got to Hungary and France, and he wanted to conquer, but couldn't get to Russia yet, couldn't get to America, never got to Britain. He couldn't do his job on the whole world. He wanted to, so he wasn't as dangerous as Haman. Haman had control over all the Jews everywhere because Achashverosh controlled all the Jews everywhere in Golis. And Haman now had the signet ring. So he was even more dangerous than Hitler. What was the Eitzah? What did they have to do? They had to do tshuva. They had to daven. So the Chafetz Chaim says there are 2 different types of incidents that Gezeres against Klal Yisrael. There's a Ma'aseh Hashem and there's a Ma'aseh Satan. So if it's against the religion, that's a Ma'aseh Satan. The Satan is out to get us. Satan is out to get us. The Satan is trying to weaken us in our religion. That was the time of Hanukkah, the time of the Greeks. So that was a Ma'aseh Satan. And the way to fight a Ma'aseh Satan is by battle. The Chafetz Chaim says, if it was up to him, when the Jews in Russia, when the Bolsheviks took over, he said they should have waged war. Even though a lot of Jews would have been killed, but they would have won by the Mesiras Nefesh against the Bolsheviks. But they didn't. And therefore the Bolsheviks, for 70 years, the communists were in control, and they spiritually wiped out a whole generation of Yidden in Russia. Again, Purim was a gezerah against the people, annihilation. That you have to daven. That's a Ma'aseh Hashem. That you have to do tshuva. And this is what we see today. Both things are happening. We see both things happening. It's converging. On one hand, we have the Arabs and the Iran. They want to annihilate us. They're not interested in making us Muslims. They want to drive us into the sea. That's what they want to do. So therefore, this is a war of annihilation. It's a war, an existential war. The Israeli government now, also all of Western society wants to destroy the ruchnius, the spiritual being of Klal Yisrael. But now especially the leftist government and all the atheists that are running it, and now they're going after, they never went after the B'nai Torah, they're arresting them, they're out for spiritual annihilation. Spiritual annihilation. That's what they want. They want to bring us into the army to spiritually kill us, because the boys who go into the army, a large percent of them come out with no yarmulkes, the Mechal Shabbos, the Dati Liumi, It's known that a large percentage of the Dati Leumi who go into the army, they come out, they're not Shomer Shabbos anymore. They threw off their religion. That's what the army does. And that's where they want us, to make us into total secular people, like they are. We have a battle. We have both battles. We have a battle of against the Ruchnius and a battle against the Gashmius. There's the physical body, the body. And we see it all converging right now. So what's the Eitzah? There's a very important Rambam. There's a Gra. I want to say the Gra first. I don't know if I'll get to the Rambam. But Chanan brings another Gra. We say Uvol Tzion Goel L'Sheva Pesha B'Yakov. Uvol Tzion Goel L'Sheva Pesha B'Yakov. Why is it concentrated on L'Sheva Pesha? So the Gra says, what's Pesha? Pesha is merid. Pesha is merid. There's a Gemara. It discusses. Merid is rebellion, rebelling. There's a whole Gemara about Ben David coming. What we have to do? We have to do tshuva. Yeshua ben Levi says going to be maimed. Kosh Baruch is going to force us to do tshuva. He's going to maim it on us. A melech kosher kahamin. Shmuel comes along and he says, no. The case is going to come. The case is going to come. It's enough. We've been. Kosh Baruch Hu is sitting in Avelis enough. He's going to bring the case. Klal Yisrael has been through all the gullus. He's going to bring the case. We've had enough. We've had enough. Says the Gra, we passing like Shmuel. Uval Tzion Goel L'Sheva Pesha B'Yakov. Just don't rebel. People today, we're in the lowest level that Klal Yisrael has been in. We have tremendous Talmidei Chachamim. We have tremendous Frum Kehilos. We also have simple Pashut Yidden, and we have a lot of Masoreti Yidden, and we have a lot of Yidden who are. I'm Jewish. I don't go to shul on Shabbos. I don't keep Shabbos, but I know I'm Jewish, and they're proud that they're Jewish. But they can't. Something's keeping them from being religious. They believe in God. They believe in Judaism, but Kosh Baruch Hu tells them, Kindala, just don't rebel. Accept me. Okay, I'll forgive you. We'll work it out. Whoever you are, just don't rebel. I heard once, it always bothered me. Kosh Baruch Hu is not going to bring the Gula, not going to bring Mashiach, because we have to suffer from all these leftists and all these atheists who are running the Israeli government, and I have to suffer. Well, bring the Gula for me, and then forget about them. I heard in the name of Rabarla, from the Rabarla Hasidim, he says, Kosh Baruch is a kunstmacher. He knows how to. He's going to bring the Gula for Rov of Klal Yisrael. Rov of Klal Yisrael, they celebrate somehow or other. They know there's a Yom Kippur. Rov of Klal Yisrael, you don't eat chametz on Pesach. To eat chametz with matzah. I mean, that's ridiculous. They keep some sort of remembrance. Klal Yisrael are very wonderful people. Kosh Baruch is going to bring the Gula as long as we don't rebel. And this is what we learned from the Megillah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will never forget his people. He will never forget us. And we're going to make another Purim. And B'ez Hashem, soon the Mashiach is going to come. And we're going to have a new Purim. And Purim will never leave Klal Yisrael. We'll always remember that Hashem is here, B'kirbeinu.
Go ahead.